All right. We're continuing in the Tafsir of Surat Maa'idah, and we are starting from Ayah 49. And the author says, starting with the word of God Almighty, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وأن يحكم بينهم بما أنزل الله. And we revealed it to you, so to command you, O Muhammad, judge between them by what Allah has revealed. Yani, if you remember from last time, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the people of the book might come to him and seek verdict from him, seek answers from him. And Allah gave him the permission to rule, yani, to give them judgments or not to answer them, yani, to give them verdicts or to refrain from doing so. So continuing with that, starting here with this ayah where we left off, Allah commands the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to judge between them according to what Allah revealed. And also in the previous ayat, all these ayat before this one here, were about ruling according to what God revealed. And in the midst of that was the story of the Jews who perverted the law of stoning. So this is continuing here with this meaning of ruling according to what Allah revealed. وَأَنِ احْكُم بَيْنَهُم بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ. And judge between them by what Allah has revealed. Meaning, and we have revealed it to you, O Muhammad, so to command you. احْكُم بَيْنَهُم بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ. Judge between them by what Allah has revealed. وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ أَهْوَاءَهُمْ. And do not follow their desires. Do not follow their inclinations that are against the religion. Their inclinations that make them disregard the rules of the religion. وَاحْذَرْهُمْ أَنْ يَفْتِنُوكَ عَنْ بَعْضِ مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ. And be cautious of them, lest they seduce you from some of what Allah has revealed to you. He was warned to be cautious of them, although he is the impeccable prophet, and therefore they would not lead him astray. But to cut off the hopes of his people that he might someday follow them. Yani, when they hear the ayah, then they would feel hopeless that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam will capitulate to them. That's how the kuffar are. They want you to do things their way. فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ أَن يُصِيبَهُم بِبَعْضِ ذُنُوبِهِمْ. And if they turn away from the revealed judgment for something else, then know that Allah but wills, yani only wills, merely wills, to afflict them on account of some of their sins, yani for some of their sins. For some of their sins in the earthly life, and for all of their sins in the afterlife. Their sins of turning away from judging by what Allah has revealed and wanting something else. This is some of their sins, that Allah wills to afflict them for some of their sins, for turning away from judging by what Allah has revealed and wanting something else. This is very important. A lot of Muslims, you'll be surprised, a lot of Muslims, religious law is not close to their hearts. Not as close as you would think it would be for someone who's a Muslim. The Muslim needs to be mindful, because if he's not mindful, he would take something because it's the norm of the people, not because it's religious rule. He won't even think about whether it's religious rule or it's not religious rule. Simply because it's the norm amongst the people, then he will embrace it. I'll give you a very easy example. Not something so harsh like we're talking about here. Copyright. How many Muslims think copyright is fine? Copyright is invalid. Now, look into your Muslim library and see how many copyrighted books you have. Probably the vast majority of them. What happened here? They didn't find a judgment in any of the madhabs that said they can do this. Or some other things, like insurance. So some Muslims said just because it's normal in their society, then insurance is fine. Yani, it gives them peace of mind to pay their money without any guarantee of return. Doesn't cross their minds. This is the thing that I want you to understand. It's not something even crossing their minds. So you need to be mindful so that you don't embrace something that should not be embraced simply because it's customary in your society. Allah but wills to afflict them on account of some of their sins. To afflict them for their turning away from judging by what Allah has revealed, and they're wanting something else. And this is the sin that the ayah refers to, but the ayah insinuates it only, hints at it, and doesn't name it explicitly. And that is to magnify the severity of it by calling it some of their sins. That is to magnify the severity of it. وَإِنَّ كَثِيرًا مِنَ النَّاسِ لَفَاسِقُونَ. And surely many of the people are certainly nefarious. That means major sinners. The Jews of Banu Nadir used to dominate over those of Qurayza, the Jews of Qurayza. So that if someone from Qurayza killed someone from An-Nadir, An-Nadir would execute the one from Qurayza. But if someone from An-Nadir killed someone from Qurayza, they would only pay blood money. And none of them would be executed. They raised their case with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So some Jews. This is a different scenario, a different case when Jews went to the Prophet for a judgment. They raised their case with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who judged. Yani, what was the verdict he gave them? That the rule for anyone slain is the same for both groups. Neither of these groups have an advantage over the other in this case. The people of An-Nadir did not accept. So Allah revealed, أَفَحُكْمَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ يَبِغُونَ. Is it then the judgment of the era of ignorance that they desire? Is it the rule of the time of ignorance that they want? وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حُكْمًا لِقَوْمٍ يُوقِنُونَ. And O Jews, who is better than Allah in judgment, according to a people who are certain of God's oneness? No one. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء. O those who have believed, do not take the Jews and the Christians as allies. Yeah, very important. supporting them or seeking their support, or making fellowship with them or brotherhood with them, and living with them like you live with the believers. Yeah, don't do it. Next thing you know, they're going to rub off on you. You're going to be doing some really bad things. You're going to have bad company. Bad company is a bad idea. And if you are in someone's company, you be the one who influences that one. Don't be the one who's influenced. If you know that you are a follower, yani, it's not necessarily something wrong with being a follower, but I mean, if you know that you are someone influenced by the people, not an influencer, then you be very mindful of your company. This is why the Muslimah cannot marry kafir man, because of the influence of a man over a woman. Not that a woman can't influence a man, though. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء. O those who have believed, do not take the Jews and the Christians as allies. بعضهم أولياء بعض. They are allies of each other because of their agreement in blasphemy. As although they talk trash about each other, though, we saw the ayah. وقالت اليهود ليست النصارى على شيء وقالت النصارى وقالت النصارى ليست اليهود على شيء. The Jews said the Christians aren't on to anything. And the Christians said the Jews aren't on to anything. So that's how they feel about each other in reality. Despite that, they gang together to fight the Muslims. Subhanallah. I was impressed with some person who said that there must be something about Islam for all people all over the world, like all the non Muslims, all the people who are not part of this group of Islam, to be wanting to fight it. There must be something there. So, yeah, that's right. Think about that. Islam is the right religion. If Islam is allowed to spread and dominate, then the people of misguidance will lose their lifestyles. وَمَن يَتَوَلَّهُم مِّنكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. And whoever aligns himself with them amongst you, then surely it is as if he is one of them. This is strictness from Allah about keeping certain distance between believers and blasphemers. This is an important thing. And what did the Prophet say, alayhi salatu wassalam? Man tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhum. Whoever imitates a people is one of them. So this hadith is evidence that a Muslim cannot imitate a kafir. He cannot do what is special to the kuffar. What the kuffar have invented and then it was specific to them, isolated to them and spread amongst them, then the Muslim cannot come amongst them and then act like them. It would be haram. When he notices their special customs that are theirs, he must refrain. إن الله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. Surely Allah does not guide the unjust folk. Subhanallah, look, give you an example. In some different societies, American and other societies, don't the Muslims know that the tattoos are haram? Yeah, Muslims know tattoos are haram. How did we find so many Muslims with tattoos? It's because of mingling with the kuffar. It's not Tattoo is not a practice of Muslims. فترى الذين في قلوبهم مرض يسارعون فيهم يقولون نخشى أن تصيبنا دائرة. Sometimes I see some of the Muslims, Muslimat in particular, and as if as if there's a dryness in their hearts. As I don't know these people I'm talking about, just when I see them, because sometimes you see the Muslims, they have light in their faces, they have yani something about them, but there's sometimes you see some Muslims, they don't have any light in their faces, darkness. It's like gloomy. They might look like they're depressed and sad. It's not just they depressed and sad. It's because they have maybe a lifestyle that's it's not from their own religion. فترى الذين في قلوبهم مرض يسارعون فيهم. Then you will see those in whose hearts is sickness, the sickness of hypocrisy, rushing to help them, saying to themselves, يقولون نخشى أن تصيبنا دائرة, saying to themselves, we fear to befall us an unfortunate turn of events, such as famine or defeat. فعسى الله أن يأتي بالفتح أو أمر من عنده. But it may be that Allah will bring the victory or a command from Himself, commanding the Prophet to expose their secret and to kill them. Yeah, that's the case of the hypocrites too. They were afraid of this. For some people who didn't believe in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were always on edge that they were going to be exposed for being hypocrites. Yeah, and if you don't believe he's a prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, then what are you afraid of? How are you going to get exposed like that? But they used to be afraid of that. فَيُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا أَسَرُّوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ نَادِمِينَ. It may be that Allah will bring the victory or a command from Himself. A command commanding the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to expose their secret, yani to expose the hypocrites by revelation, and to kill them too. فَيُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا فيصبحوا على ما أسروا في أنفسهم نادمين, so that they become for what they have hidden within themselves of doubt and supporting the blasphemers regretful. ويقول الذين آمنوا أهؤلاء الذين أقسموا بالله جهد أيمانهم. And those who believed will say to each other in astonishment when the hypocrites are exposed, are they those who swore by Allah with their utmost swears that indeed they were most surely with you in religion? أهؤلاء الذين أقسموا بالله جهد أيمانهم إنهم لمعكم. Are they those who swore by Allah with their utmost swears that indeed they were most surely with you in religion? حبطت أعمالهم فأصبحوا خاسرين, says God. Their deeds were invalidated, so they became losers. They became losers in the earthly life by the exposure, and in the afterlife by the torture. يا أيها الذين آمنوا من يرتد منكم عن دينه فسوف يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه. All those who have believed, whoever from amongst you apostatizes from his religion of Islam, then Allah will bring a people whom He accepts and they love Him. And those are the Ash'ira, those ones. This is the ayah that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he recited this ayah, فَسَوْفَ يَأْتِي اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ يُحِبُّهُمْ وَيُحِبُّونَهُ أذلة على المؤمنين أعزة على الكافرين يجاهدون في سبيل الله ولا يخافون لومة لائم. O those who have believed, whoever from amongst you apostatizes from his religion, then Allah will bring a people whom He accepts and they love Him, a people humble to the believers, mighty against the unbelievers, performing jihad for Allah's sake and not fearing the blame of any blamer or not fearing the accusation of any accuser. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he recited this ayah, and then he pointed to Abu Musa al-Ash'ari and he said, they are his people. They are his people. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. So some of the scholars, they said his people means the one who came from his loins, that's Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari and his followers who are the Ash'ira, the Ash'aris. And this is their description here. Yujahidun, all of this. أذلة على المؤمنين أعزة على الكافرين. Humble to the believers and mighty against the unbelievers, not the other way. Like some Muslims are tough on the Muslims and so subservient and loving to kiss the backside of a kafir. Be so nice to him. أذلة على المؤمنين أعزة على الكافرين. Humble to the believers, mighty against the unbelievers. يجاهدون في سبيل الله. Performing jihad for Allah's sake. ولا يخافون لومة لائم. And not fearing the blame of any blamer, or not fearing the accusation of any accuser. Unlike the hypocrites who were allied with the Jews and thus they were afraid to do anything when they would go out with the Muslim army against the Jews. Since the hypocrites had an alliance with the Jews, they were afraid to do anything when they would go out with the Muslims to fight the Jews because the Jews were their allies. So they have reluctance and they don't go all in. As for the faithful people from the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they don't fear the blame of any accuser. Yani, they're not afraid to go all in. They're not afraid to do what they have to do. They are committed. And they're not wishy-washy ones who are very concerned that you like them. Oh, if you don't like them, then they don't know what to do. No, that's not the case of the Muslims. Or they're going to be depressed and sad. You don't like them. No. ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. That is Allah's generosity. He gives it to whom He wills. وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. And Allah is wasi', vastly generous. and knowing who is deserving. So let's stop here. Do you have any question I can answer for you? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. What about paying car insurance? What about paying insurance to drive your car? Then you can only pay the minimum if they force you to. And you have to hate it in your heart. Same thing like if you had a musalla or masjid and you are in a land of unjust people and they tell you cannot open this religious center without insurance. So they're forcing you. And you pay the minimum and you hate it in your heart when you pay it. And you don't get insurance for other things. It's not valid. Like if you buy something from Staples or you buy something from some of the different stores, electronics store, and they ask you, you want some insurance? Insurance is haram and invalid. I'm not going to go into a Hanafi school here. I'm just going to tell you that it's invalid. If you ask me, I'm going to tell you it's invalid. He said, why did the Jews waste time going to the Prophet to ask his verdicts if they weren't going to follow what he said? They didn't know what he was going to say. So they said, if he gives you this wrong rule, they didn't say wrong rule. They say, if he gives you this, then take it. That was the wrong rule. But if he gives you something else, then beware. And why they went through that? Because they didn't want to commit to what they had. So in their confusion and their silliness, then they went and asked the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. I mean, wafikum, life insurance, haram. All the insurance is haram, invalid. But they'll force you to do car insurance. I never heard about a person being forced to do life insurance. They'll force you to do car insurance. If you don't get the car insurance, then if they catch you, they're going to punish you severely. They're going to punish you as much as they can. They're going to take your car. They're going to fine you. They're going to do I don't know what. Hold you, waste your time, make you stay there, pulled over on the side of the road for a long, long time, etc.
In some workers, they give you without you paying life insurance. That one is, it doesn't matter, right? Because you don't pay it. They give it to you.
Yeah, if they give it to you, then that's
Mhm.
different.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you can benefit from it.
Yes, indeed. But if you died after all,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
that's the life insurance. So, yeah. So, wouldn't that be a proof that they found them trustworthy? Well, you could argue that, but it's more of a proof for the intensity of their own kufr. Because they already had the Torah that had their rules. They claimed they believed in the Torah, and it was right there in their hands, and they had the rule right there. So because of the kufr, they didn't take the Torah that they had right there that they claimed to believe in. And because they such wretched kuffar, they went to the Prophet that they didn't believe in to find a way to defy their own book. And then when he gave them the rule that's in their very own book, they didn't take it. So we're dealing with some very serious kuffar here. MashaAllah. Wa alaikum assalam. You said, were there Muslim in the army of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam that didn't want to fight the Jews? The case of the hypocrite. Oh, you said Muslims, not hypocrites. Muslims. I don't know. I didn't hear about that. It was the hypocrites who were pretending to be Muslims who were in the army who didn't want to fight the Jews because they were actually their allies. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك